Well, it's that time. The WWE 2K Executive Director Patrick GIlmore took to Reddit and he's doing an AMA. Now, this is something that we haven't had from the WWEGames for a long time. Now, we know that they took to the forums and they said, send us your feedback. We will try and implement it into the game. Well, now Patrick GIlmore actually went on Reddit and he said, I'm doing an AMA, which is kind of a cool thing because whether or not they're going to make all these changes actually happen, we'll see when he answers the AMA questions, and we'll go over all that. But they are being more transparent and open with everybody, so that's a good thing. That's a very good thing that they're being transparent, they're being open, they're talking about things. So there you go. So Patrick GIlmore actually took to Reddit. He is the executive producer, and if you don't know what that is, an executive producer is kind of the guy who decides the vision of the game, like where they're going to go with this game. And he actually answers a lot of questions about like the direction of the game. And he goes into like some features that people request. And he goes into like how he, what he is as far as a wrestling fan and like this weird dichotomy of like, do we want a sports game or do we want an entertainment game? And also, is it featured on wins and losses or is it featured on like putting on a good match in the WWE game? So there's a lot that goes into it. So let's actually get into the Reddit now, and then we'll go over some of his stuff, and then I will talk about it, and then we'll go from there. All right, first getting into the first question is, would 2K Games ever use music imported from Spotify? And he responds with saying, we have discussed about importing custom music, and it can be a legal snarl, which I've heard from, I've actually heard this from them before. As creators ourselves, we have to take care when it comes to the rights of other creators, i.e. musicians. For most music, the original artist retains the rights to synchronize pictures to the music, so we need to take care to offer the feature in the right way. I can't commit to anything right now, but it's on our list of things to explore. So basically what he's saying is there's a lot that goes into music licensing, unlike an independent developer game where they could just be like, yeah, let's just do that and just let them do it. They're kind of like, we have licenses, we have, people that we need to uphold. We need to upload creators and make sure that the creators are happy. If we're going to license music, we definitely want to feature them first, and having custom music would kind of take away from the license thing. So maybe, I don't know what they're, obviously there's a fix here or there's not, but maybe not licensing any music and just using WWE soundtracks. But does licensing music help promote the game? I don't know. That's a little here, there for you to decide, but that's what his take was. Next question was, are you a wrestling fan? The reason I asked because 2K20 DLC stuff had barely anything to do with wrestling. More wrestling freedom and such as a more expansive CAW mode is what people really desire. He comes back and says, I consider myself a fan, but I can't hold a candle to a true longtime fans who are steeped in the history of professional wrestling with multiple unfolding narratives and generations. Wow, that's like a mouthful there. I'm a bit of a blank slate in that regard. Super curious, but without preconceptions or allegiances. I think that's a good part of why I'm open to input from the community. You all help me learn and prioritize without relying on WWE dogma or fan partisanship. I've talked to a number of people on the team who, like me, became hardcore fans as a result working on the franchise. They say it takes about 2 years before you're truly versed. So it's an honest answer. It definitely is an honest answer. I'm glad he didn't BS us and say, yeah, I love wrestling. The Rock is great. Because I've heard a lot of those things. Yeah, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's just what it is. What he's basically saying is that he is not a wrestling fan. He became a wrestling fan working on the game. And 2 years working into the game, he'll be fully versed on everything and he will know all about it. He says he's a fan, but he's not. You can tell that he's not a hardcore long-term fan who's been watching since he was a little kid, grew up, and that is where he is now working on these games. You can tell he's a game developer first and a wrestling fan second. So he's going to have that game development side, which again, he says he's listening to the community and he's trying to get the fans and everybody else to, teach him, and he can learn from that, which is a good thing. So I'm not going to say that, oh my gosh, he's the worst person because he's not a wrestling fan. No, you need someone who can develop a game first, obviously, because this is a video game first, and then learn about the wrestling. I mean, obviously it would be great if he's a hardcore wrestling. It would be great if he was both, where he was like a super hardcore wrestling fan and also an amazing game developer, but he is not, and that is very hard to come by, I'm sure. But going forward, he says he's going to learn, and he says it takes about 2 years. So honestly, there have been some people that aren't wrestling fans, but they watch the product, they make the games, and then they become fans of the product. But he's being honest here, and I like that. You can take it for what it is. I know some people will be upset with that answer, but honestly, I'd rather him be open and honest with everything than just be like, yeah, I love wrestling. The Rock is great, because I've heard that dumb answer, and I hate that answer. Here's something that I always see, and I actually know the answer to this before he answered it, but is there any reason that WWEGames never allowed us to customize hair, beard, and makeup options for on-disc WWE superstars? So this long, it goes on to whatever, but he answers it by saying, as you can imagine, likeness rights are highly sensitive where real people are involved. We work closely with our partners in WWE on portraying their superstars. As with any organization, they put a lot of effort into how the talent is portrayed. That being said, if changes to a superstar gimmick happen to make it into the game, we'll attempt to make those changes. So basically, WWE is sensitive and does not want their likenesses of their characters to be portrayed weak. I've heard rumors, I don't know how true these are. I heard rumors that you had to make the Big Show look big. I heard rumors that you had to make Triple H look jacked to the gills, and that's kind of rumors that I've heard. So WWE kind of has things that they want their superstars to be portrayed as, and making them look goofy, I guess, is not part of what they want, like with hair and beards and other stuff. But again, people still do crazy stuff with this game. So I don't know. Honestly, it seems more like a WWE thing than a 2K thing. So, that's what you're going to get with the partnership with WWE and 2K. So you're going to know that from like a lot of these answers. It's like, we want to do this, but we also have WWE who's got to have say in this game as well, because it is their video game. So, all right, this one is the answer that everybody's been wanting. Will there be any updates to WWE 2K19, 2K20 in the process of waiting for 2K22, whether it be content, additions, or simply bug fixes? My best answer to new patches is probably not. I know that's disappointing news to many of you, but let me elaborate, which is cool. I'm glad he's doing that. I've joined the team 4 months ago after launch of 2K20. At 5-month mark, the team had delivered 6 major patches, 7 if I count the day 1 patch, and 4 installments of DLC. We've reached to the point where the biggest issue we were seeing had to do with memory overruns with custom characters and arenas. Fixing issues would require us to change file formats, branching our code in such a way that the improvements to 2K20 wouldn't carry forward into the next game and could potentially invalidate existing community creations. We were also facing the reality that maintaining older code was preventing us from making bigger and more comprehensive changes that require to set a new direction. Finally, given we had made the decision to skip a year before the next release, we had used almost half of our additional time. We had to make the next project great. Weighing all of this and in discussion with the team leadership, I felt the best thing would be to turn the focus on the next project. Now, this isn't the news you want to hear, so trying to be transparent, the direction is a more difficult decision we had to make to try and set us up to deliver the best possible results in the future. So the answer is no, we're moving forward and we're working on the next game, as I pretty much figured they were going to do. Wipe our hands clean and move on. That's what they did. Okay, this is a very, 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 very long question, but I'll just pick the top one because I think that's the one that he answers. Are wrestling games all about winning, or should you focus more on how to work the match? Because I think that's what he answers. So he answers the question by saying, I love the question on whether a wrestling game is all about winning. It's one of the biggest questions I've asked when I first started. Basically, it's theater, or is it a sport? It's all of our discussion. We came down to the side of sport. We want to focus on the authenticity of rivalries, athleticism, and the experience of being a superstar locked in the meaningful combat in front of an audience of thousands. When we describe the core focus of the next game, we sometimes use the phrase step out of the crowd, step into the ring. This reflects our effort to move a little bit away from the audience broadcast aspect towards the superstar experience. The central focus can affect our approach to almost every aspect of the game. We hope it produces the most authentic wrestling game ever. So that just got me thinking, wheels in my head turning. I was always thinking, why don't we have a be a fan mode? Why don't we have like more stuff about like immersing ourselves as a fan? They're taking the approach of like, you're going to be a superstar. So more of the My Career stuff looks like what they're going towards. Like the more like, hey, we want you to be an authentic, like when you're playing as the Big Show, we want you to feel like the Big Show, which I guess is a cool thing to think about, because then that would mean we could get more authentic superstars in the game. Like more, like when you play as a certain superstar, it should feel like that superstar. And let's hope that that's the direction they're taking. That's what it sounds like he wants to do. All right, next question is, people are seemingly clamoring for GM mode year after year. Can you provide insight on why it's been skipped over and what goes into those decisions? So he comes back and says, GM mode is one of the most requested features we get. I can say that my message to the team was, we're not just going to tout out a mode from 2008 without bringing something new. Top minds are thinking about it right now. Top minds. So that means this is, I mean, not just from him, but I've heard this from other people at 2K. They're not going to put out like an old feature just because it's old. Like they could have put out special guest referee the way that it was, but it wasn't anything new. That's how they work over there. If they're going to put something out, they want to have their own new spin on it. So if they're going to put out GM mode, they don't want to just put out GM mode as the same as it was in 2008. They want to make it better and, you know, more adapted to today's wrestling climate. Good, bad, or ugly, I don't know. So it means if they can't come up with anything new or they can't figure it out, we might not be getting it. We're not just going to get a copy pasta of 2008. So there's that for you. This next question says, since it's obvious before the game was delayed or canceled, 2K21 would have been in the works. Let's say 50% done. Since the work is there, the assets are done, probably models and scanned. It's possible to push an update 2K20 for free and make 2K20.5. Okay, yo, slow your roll here. Hey, man, can you just give us 2K20.5 for free? We want it. Cool, man. Sweet question. He comes back and says, we did not cancel 2K21. The effect of skipping a year is that we get longer time to focus on the current game to make more significant improvements. So they just skipped 2K21 and moved on to 22. So they're going to work on it. So this, I hate questions like this. There's a lot of questions that always make me upset. And some of those are like, hey, man, can you give us like all this for free? Like just do all this and then make it for free. Cool. Let's go. Like that's not how game development works. And they would be losing out on a lot of resources, money, and time doing this. Here's a big one. I do suspect that this is highly unlikely, but would future PC releases ever have mod support possibility like Steam Workshop? Because basically 2K20, if you didn't know, had really hard mod. They did some coding or something, and it was really hard to mod the game. So he's asking about mod. Mod support is something we're looking into. We've changed our encryption and methodology with 2K20, and that made the game a lot more difficult to mod. Supporting mods officially is a gigantic commitment, but we have a huge value in that community. So it's something we're discussing and prioritizing along with other new features. So he is saying that mod support is a priority. All right, here's one that I've always wondered. Why is 2K unable to do monthly updates? You know, most video games, at least popular ones, they are updated all the time. And we have stuff like Fortnite, who gets stuff all the time. We got Call of Duty gets stuff all the time. But he comes back and says, my most recent experience is more of a games as a service model, where games is always live, updates are constant as games are moving. I think that's how the game industry is evolving. You put out a game and then you keep evolving and updating it, and always live, like he says. I think it's a great way to develop. I would say that it's part of the long-term franchise vision to move in that direction, but it's not something that we can make happen overnight. Internally, we talk obsessively about being more current with new superstars, gimmick changes, and so forth. The main thing I can commit to ongoing improvement. Okay. So he's basically saying, yeah, we would love to have a game that we can always update and constantly do that. But again, I think what we're seeing here is with WWE that they have a very, very difficult relationship getting stuff in there as much as they can right away, because you have to approve everything. WWE's got a strict corporate thing where they have to approve it, and just you can't. Literally, I was talking to Cat Daddy guys before. When it comes to like Supercard, they can't just take a render of like a person online. Like you could go to like these render sites and get like a render of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they can't just do that. They actually have to have the images sent from WWE. Isn't that crazy? That's like everything has to be sent from WWE and approved from WWE, so they can't just do these updates. Like if it was up to them, I bet 2K would be like, yeah, let's just put out this most current version of this guy, but they can't. Like, I'm surprised they even got Bray Wyatt in there as the Fiend as soon as they did in the game, which is good on them. All right, so this person basically asked about universe mode. Can they make more stuff in universe mode, pretty much? He comes back and says, we are working on improving the overall universe experience with a few new features. We're mostly focused on improving the flow and experience of using universe. So the UI is going to be a big focus on universe this year, which is good because it looks like they're putting a lot of time and effort into universe mode, which is one of those game features that I feel like can be good, but they really haven't done anything with it. So the fact that he's saying, yo, we really want to work on universe mode this year, that's a good thing. All right, here's a new good one. This actually has a really good answer. Do you plan on keeping the creation suite mostly as is or adding new features? Create is one of the 6 primary areas of focus for the next game. I would love to know what those 6 are. Maybe he'll dive into it later. We are looking at all models in the creation suite, streamlining interfaces, improving the experience for power users. We're also upgrading base models and trying to bring more personality and flow to the creation process. The creation team's vision is tools that feel like magic to use. They want everyone to be able to create something that looks amazing to incorporate in the creation into the game and to share it with the world. Across the entire life cycle of creation, we have improvements planned. As some of you know, we reach out to power creators in the community to help recommendations on how to take Universe to the next level. Super excited to shape Universe through advice directly from our most passionate and active creators. So reaching out to creators and trying to get, I guess, Universe to be good and make that good. And Creation Suite, they want to make it streamlined. Basically, they want everybody to create a super cool version of a character, which I like. I like that. All right. Next question. What are your thoughts on recreating or simply adding back elements of older games such as Create a Story or GM? And he says, I personally love Create a Story and would love to get it back in the games. Hey, you're my dude. Let's go. We definitely want to do it at some point. Excuse me? Okay. Confirmed, 100% Create a Story coming back. As for GM mode, it is not lost on us that it was top requested feature in one of our recent community feedback projects, working on proposals, solutions internally, but they'll need to get reviewed and approved before I move forward on development. We'll share more in the future. That doesn't sound very good right now. He says that they have to get approved and they want to do GM mode, but they have to get it approved. And I hope that they get it approved and they have enough time to do it. Create a Story. My dude, let's go. That's what I want to hear. Let's go. You're talking my language, Patrick. Let's go. All right, what is the plan for the next 2K game? Will we get an overhaul in Creation Suite and have more features online? Creation Suite is a huge focus for the next game, one of the 6 primary pillars for us, so it's going to get a lot of it. What are these pillars? Please tell me what the 6 pillars of the game are. I want to know. But how much focus will you guys have on missing match types? Basically is what the main type is. And then he says, match types derive from AI logic, physics, arena layout, and other elements, which then get crafted into rule sets for specific matches. We are putting tons of emphasis on core gameplay at the moment. Yes, that's what we need, boy. That's what we need. And we need to rebuild the match types based upon our new system. We have just finished the feedback project. We get amazing feedback from match types. You would like to see the feedback is a central element driving our internal discussion to get us as much bang for the buck as we need in the next release. So, core gameplay, yes. And they have to make sure they have to get the AI logic, the physics, the arena layout, the elements, and the rule set for the matches. So that's why some of the match types have not been in the game. Cool little insight to how they develop games. I never really actually thought of it that way, but put everything in the game. I want all the match types. Buried Alive, Inferno, Special Guest Referee. Put them all in the game. We want them all. All right, this is one about female legends and female create a superstar hairstyles and stuff. So basically, the question is, we want more females. Give us female creative parts. And then he comes back and says, holla, we are definitely updating CAW to improve hairstyles for women. As for the roster, it is one of the most critical aspects of development of the franchise, and we recognize the growing importance of women in the WWE history and current programming. It is a big focus for us as we dive into the roster for the next game. Basically, we hear ya. We're going to add more stuff for the women and they create a wrestler side. And we are actually, I like how you called it CAW and not create a superstar. I like that you're using the proper term. You're getting everybody hyped for it. Anyway, then he says, we're looking into the roster. We're going to grow it. We're going to pick the people that are important. But whatever the direction of the game goes, that's going to decide who's going to make the roster. All right, here's a really good question. What is your vision as WWE 2K? As executive producer, the game will likely follow your vision the most. I was wondering, what are something you would like to implement in the game? And he says, I personally put a huge value on authenticity, making the stakes of a match feel real, visceral, impactful. Early on, I spent a ton of time with the creative director, and we went through a bunch of shows and pay-per-views and such. I responded to a lot of it and really wanted to synthesize into a unifying theme. Then one day, I walked past the desk and was watching some behind-the-scenes material that really focused on Bautista, a.k.a. Batista, but he knows him as Dave Bautista, that actor from Guardians of the Galaxy. No, just kidding. Batista, I stopped in my tracks, and we spent the next hour or so scrubbing through material. I think the vision really emerged from those conversations, what it's like to actually be on the roster. You're going to feel like you're part of the WWE, to be the part of the spectacular entertainment. To describe the terms of the vision, I would say our goal is to focus a lot more on the superstar experience. So, as I said before, he kind of answered this earlier on. He wants it to be like, if you're playing as Bautista, Dave Bautista, Guardians of the Galaxy, Drax, we want you to feel like Batista. And I think that's pretty much what I want too. Because right now, you play as some certain superstars, and they don't actually feel like that superstar. You know what I'm saying? You have like the look, but the actual playing as them don't really feel like it. So make Batista feel like Batista, and I'll be cool with that. All right, what other genre of video games would you like to explore in the WWE game franchise? And then he comes back and says, our focus is 100% on wrestling. The great thing about wrestling, it's a total melting pot that encompasses so many different aspects of different genres, sports, drama, even science fiction. Wrestling is multifaceted. That said, we are focusing 100% on making the game the best wrestling game that we can. Here's the question, the long question. Collecting feedback on Reddit and 2K forums, I feel the importance should be asked. Have you guys played any of the old 2K, non-2K titles such as SVR, No Mercy, Here Comes the Pain, Day of Reckoning, older titles? And here's what he says. From a design lead, many of us team have been playing wrestling games that date back to even the days of the NES. We actually have an N64 and a GameCube in the office, occasionally play No Mercy, Day of Reckoning 2, and Ultimate Muscle, AKA's last wrestling game. AKA's output on the N64 are some of my personal favorites, and they are mechanically sound games that were more accessible than any other wrestling options that have come before and even after. The AKI games did a fantastic job at capturing the spirit of wrestling, had an incredible roster. In terms of modes, very few games have achieved an open-ended nature and freedom of Here Comes the Pain. That's a personal favorite. SVR 9 and 10, Road to WrestleManias were great as well, and they embraced the theater of wrestling. Dude, he's hitting on everything. We got the AKI games we love. We got the No Mercy. We got the Here Comes the Pain, and we got the Road to WrestleManias. That's like everything that I like about pro wrestling games. Let's just do that. Can you just do No Mercy mixed with Here Comes the Pain, mixed with the Road to WrestleManias? I think we got something going on here. Let's make that happen. All right, here comes the question. Hey, Patrick, being made new producer of the WWE game, what do you personally feel needs to be added to the next game to give it replayability throughout the year? And he says, great question. I personally start with the core combat. I think everything flows from that. Building on core combat, I think you naturally flow into online universe creation suite where members of our community do an amazing job of adding the experience throughout the year. For me, improving online and supporting all those creators are key to driving replayability through the year. Online! That's my question was about online. I said, hey, what do you think about online? And, he answered it here. Actually, not my question, but he answered it here and says, improving on online. I actually like that. So working on the core game. That is so cool. So, like a lot of people are like, oh, the core experience was low on the list. Well, he actually says core. Hey, Patrick. First of all, I would like to say thank you for putting into the game since you've joined the team. I'd like to ask Universe Mode, the main reason I play the game. And he asks, who's your favorite superstar? So he says, bearing in mind, all changes come in the next couple weeks. He says, bearing in mind, this might all change in the next couple weeks. My favorite superstar is AJ Styles. I like his international experience and athleticism his opponents always seem to perform better when they're fighting him. I might just cut this question because this one's not actually important. Yeah, cut it. Cut it. Cut it. Okay, so the big question is about gameplay overhaul on this one, and he has a long response here. I won't read it all, but core gameplay is one of the major investments we're making in the next installment. One of the 6 pillars, core gameplay. We got core gameplay. I think we got creation. I think we got, I'm putting all these together. We got online. We got maybe universe. Maybe that's 4 of the 6. I don't know. Gameplay teams focus on accessibility, depth, and wrestling experience. For accessibility, we're obsessed with simple, intuitive interface, which has a meaning and a depth, wide variety of context, i.e. the game is a lot smarter about what the player is trying to do given a simple situation. In a grapple on the ropes against a turnbuckle with constant inputs regarding that situation, new players should be able to accidentally pull off awesome moves just by playing and experimenting with the controls. For depth, we're looking at ring position, deeper combos, and working moves, limb damage, technique abilities, match momentum, unlocks, rock, paper, scissors, strategies, archetypes, and player styles. Woof! Last aspect of the gameplay is capturing the essence of professional wrestling, which has been a dimension of drama, changing context, massive roster, backstage action, weapons, and props, all that stuff. Audience participation, the spectacle. Huge challenge, but we're working on it. So there's the answers to that. Core gameplay is a big focus, and accessibility is another one, and depth, and capturing the essence of professional wrestling. All right, we finally have it. What are the 5 pillars? What are the 6 pillars? Here's the 6 pillars of the WWE game. The core gameplay, the core gameplay is number 1, making the superstars versus superstar gameplay the best it has been. Emergence, leveraging physics and more generic object environmental systems to enable particular gameplay that players feel in control of. WWEX, which is the experience, delivering an end-to-end WWE experience, true WWE experience, in all aspects of the game. Focus UI and wrapper to superstars, match types, and story modes. Online, improving all aspects of the online experience. Character, to make the best-looking superstars of all time. And creation, is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Create. Upgrade the creation suite and make our community creation tools feel magic to use. So I like this. Here's the pillars of the game. This is what if any one of these pillars falls, the game falls. That's kind of how it works, right? That's what pillars are. If you ever think of a building, you have pillars. One of the pillars falls, the whole thing falls. So here's what works. Core gameplay. They're going to make sure that's good. Emergence, so you feel immersed into the game. You got the controls, all that stuff. The WWE experience, so how true to life of WWE is it? Online, playing online. Characters, make the best looking superstars of all time. And creation, which is a big one, letting you guys create your content and putting it in the game. I like this pillar thing. Let's keep it going. All right, we have learned a lot about the WWE 2 game. We have learned a lot about the WWE 2K game and the development cycle and how it goes into it. I think out of all of this, the most interesting thing to get from this, which is something that I've never heard from any game developer, maybe they have said this before. Maybe there are game developers that have done this. But I really like the pillar thing that he put, the 6 pillars. The core gameplay is number 1. That's like superstar versus superstar gameplay at its best. So, core gameplay, how the core gameplay. Emergence, the physics and the environment and the gameplay, all that. The emergence, so like how you feel in control of the game. The WWE experience, which is delivering the core WWE experience, make it true, make you feel like you're in the WWE. The online, making the online better, which I think is really cool. Characters, making the best looking superstars of all time. And creation is have the creation suite and the community creation stuff for you. And that's something that I think out of all of this has been the biggest revelation for me, is to know that, okay, so this is the focus on the game. So you need to know that, like, core gameplay, very big on my list to make sure that it feels like that. I think what's mostly coming out of this is that they want it to be the most authentic WWE experience possible. So, like, when you play in the game, it should be easy to pull off some cool stuff. You should feel like the wrestler you're playing as, and then you should be immersed into the game and the WWE universe. So I think that's kind of cool. Online creation and making characters look like superstars, that's pretty much what they want to do. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you have your favorite AMA questions from here or something that you asked and didn't get answered, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts about all of this. As always, I'm TonyPizzaGuy. We will see you in another video.